The Xbox Series X launched at $499. On August 1st, 2026, Microsoft raised it to $799. The chip inside is the same. The games are the same. The company was already selling that machine for less than it cost to build, and it raised the price anyway. The reason it gave has nothing to do with games. Microsoft published the reason on June 25th, 2026. Console storage and memory prices have increased by more than 2.5 times. The company expects another doubling by the fall of 2027. So the thing that moved the price of a games console by $150 is storage and memory, the two dullest components in the box. It is not one company. Sony raised US PlayStation 5 prices on April 2nd, pointing at the global economy. Nintendo revises the Switch 2 to $499 on September 1st, naming only market conditions. Neither said the word. Raspberry Pi did. It added $60 to its 16 gigabyte board and gave the reason: AI data centers competing for the same memory factories. Laptop makers are quoting 15 to 20%. Not all of these are memory stories. Enough are. Look at what that does to the market. IDC forecasts personal computer shipments down 11.3% in 2026, with market value up 1.6%. Phones, units down 13.9%, the steepest fall on record, value up 3.8%. IDC calls the memory shortage the dominant force there, though not the only one. Fewer people buy a device. The industry collects more money. That gap is what a shortage looks like from the inside. So who is on the other side of that price? Not another shopper. The memory in your laptop and the memory beside an AI chip compete for the same limited factory capacity. And that capacity is being divided right now. Start with the physical object. The ordinary working memory in a phone or a laptop is called DRAM. Every chip of it is cut from a wafer, a disk of silicon about the size of a dinner plate. A factory can only start so many wafers a month. That number grows, but slowly, and a new clean room takes years to fill. So in any quarter, capacity is close to what it already was. The question is how it gets divided. The memory beside an AI chip has a name: HBM, high bandwidth memory. It is ordinary memory, stacked in layers with wires running down through the stack. A figure reported from Micron puts the cost in wafer terms. 1 gigabyte of HBM takes about 3 times the wafer area of 1 gigabyte of conventional DRAM. Yield is the other half. A flaw in one layer can cost the whole stack, so stacking and packaging eat capacity twice. A wafer moved to AI memory does not subtract 1 for 1. It subtracts at a multiple from everything else. That is the physics. The money points the same way. In the first 3 months of 2026, revenue across the DRAM industry grew 81%, not over the year, in one quarter. That is TrendForce, published June 1st. A supplier looking at that number has a powerful incentive to aim its capacity at whoever is paying it. Put it together. TrendForce describes suppliers favoring higher-priced, higher-margin server business and sending the incremental supply to high-capacity modules for AI servers. It says that limits what is left for PC and phone makers. So price does the sorting. Between January and March 2026, what large buyers pay for ordinary memory rose 93 to 98%. It nearly doubled. I would call that rationing. Nobody in the chain has to use the word. One supplier did not wait for the price to sort it out. On December 3rd, 2025, Micron announced it was leaving its crucial consumer business, 29 years old. Micron continued crucial consumer channel shipments through February 2026. Its stated reason: it wanted that supply redirected to larger strategic customers. Its chips still reach shoppers inside other companies' products, but the brand that sold them to you directly is gone. Here is why the same price rise does not land on everyone equally. IDC put memory at 15 to 20% of the parts bill in a mid-range phone. In a flagship, it is 10 to 15%. The cheaper the device, the bigger the share memory takes. So a cost shock that looks flat across the industry is not flat at all. It falls hardest on the cheapest products. You can see both sides inside one company. On July 30th, 2026, Samsung reported the best quarter in its history. Group operating profit of 89.5 trillion won, an all-time high driven by memory. In the same results, the division that makes Galaxy phones reported an operating loss of 0.7 trillion won. Samsung's own explanation was elevated component costs across the industry. It did not blame its own memory business, and I will not do that arithmetic for it. The two numbers simply sat in the same press release. Now, the part of the market with the least room to absorb any of this. Of the 1.26 billion phones shipped in 2025, over 170 million sold for under $100. IDC's wording is blunt. It expects that segment to become economically unviable if memory costs settle permanently higher. That is a forecast, not a result, and the risk is not that a $90 phone gets more expensive. It is that vendors stop making one or ship less memory inside it for the same money, and that pressure is not spread evenly. In the same forecast, IDC has shipments falling 23% across the Middle East and Africa, 19% across Central and Eastern Europe, and 14% across Asia Pacific outside Japan and China. The declines are concentrated where phones are cheapest, which is the uncomfortable shape of this. The cost of the AI build-out lands hardest on the buyers furthest from it. There is a second way a shortage reaches you, and it does not show up as a price at all. In December 2025, Raspberry Pi introduced a Pi 5 with 1 gigabyte of memory at $45, a cheaper board with less in it. It was the only Pi 5 that escaped the February increase. Less memory for the same money is the same shortage, counted differently. Both answers land on the same person. And here's the part that makes this strange. On the same day Samsung published those results, OpenAI cut the price of one of its models by 80%. GPT 5.6. Luna went from $1 to 20 cents per million input tokens, the chunks of text a model reads. One price cut is not a trend, but on that single day, using a model got cheaper while the memory it runs on got more expensive. And the second one is the bill that arrives at your door. I want to be careful about where this ends. Memory has a violent boom and bust cycle. New capacity is being added, but it takes years, and the forecasts still see the shortage running through 2027. After that depends on demand nobody can see yet. If AI demand keeps climbing, the cheap tier stays under pressure. If demand weakens, memory prices could fall sharply again. But past cycles do not tell us when or by how much. I do not know which way this goes. Nobody selling you a forecast does either. So here's where I land. The cost of the AI build-out is no longer paid only by the companies building it or the people using it. Some of it is being passed through to people buying the devices this hits. Rationing by price is invisible. Nobody announces it. There is no queue. There is just a number on a shelf that used to be lower, and a tier of products that may simply stop being made. My question is a boring one. I think it is the useful one. What did you not buy since the start of 2026 because the price had moved? A phone you kept, a build you postponed, a machine you bought used. I want to know whether this is showing up in real purchases yet or only in forecasts. Tell me what you skipped and what you bought instead. If the comments look nothing like the forecasts, that is worth knowing.